Hello, friends. So here's here's the thing. Weather to weather, the weather. Now, I've never been very good at writing, but let's say I am learning, my friends, to be good at reading and reciting to some extent. But what's that got to do with weather to weather, the weather? Right. So here's the thing. It's now the end of April. For reference, it's 2023. And I'm in North England, not very far from Scotland, actually. I'm in a place called Harrogate in North Yorkshire. And, oh, by the way, the accent's not from North Yorkshire. If you're wondering, my dear friends in the United States, this is a Middlesex accent, if somewhat slightly more polished, I'd say, than a typical Middlesex accent. Oh, and by the way, Middlesex was a county on the outskirts of London until 15, 20 years ago. Got swallowed up by Greater London. But anyway, where am I going with this? Weather to weather, the weather. So, end of April 2023, nearly May, nearly the May bank holiday. And the morning temperatures at 7 o'clock this morning, when I jumped in the van, were 2 degrees. There was frost on the window. Now, here's the thing to ponder more than anything. So, let's say for most of us, the majority, we live indoors. And weather to weather the weather is really not something most people have to worry about. But there is a small contingent, let's say, of people that around this time of year probably get increasingly concerned about the weather. Those people, in no particular order, let's say, are lawn fanatics, gardeners, and growers. Because here's the thing that's really sort of concerning is as growers, let's say generally across those three, is if the weather's not good enough and the preparation you're doing typically in spring for spring growth, knowing that there's spring temperatures there, if they're not there, the growing doesn't happen. And that is concerning because if a plant technically can't germinate early enough, then it struggles to mature. And then when it needs to be at its best, let's say into the summer season, whether that's harvesting or growing, so something shows its best, let's say, if it doesn't happen early in the season, everything gets pushed. The end of the season is still determined. You can't stop the end of the season because you need to harvest at a particular time, and that's usually weather dependent, let's say, or a garden will look its best at a certain time of year before the season changes. So it is quite concerning that basically the temperatures are low. In my case, I've been doing a number of lawn renovations, and I've been doing, let's say, a fair bit of seeding work, lawn seeding work. And the thing that has become very, very, very obvious to me is one, whilst we've had rain intermittently, let's say, we haven't had the usual April showers, is the underlying challenge that I see is that the ground temperatures are so low that germination is very, very delayed, if not hanging. And then if there is any germination, the plants are very, very primitive. In the case of a lawn, that's kind of all right because things will push on. But it does mean that the maturing of the lawn is going to be later this year. But with a little bit of care and attention, a little bit of fertilizer and feeding and care, I might be able to get the lawns up and running faster. But growing crops and harvesting is quite a challenge. As is, when the harvesting period comes to some extent, or they say the seasons comes, if it's pouring down with rain and you can't harvest, that's also a problem, isn't it? So, weather to weather, the weather. Weather to weather, the weather. I love that. That's so English, isn't it? It's such a thing about the English language. Weather to weather, the weather. Or weather to weather, the weather. Or weather to weather to the weather. If you get me, it's the same three words, but if you say them differently, sort of. It's a bit like weather, a weather, or weather. It's all the same word, but it's not all the same word, is it? But anyway, look, I think the most important thing is that it's sunny today. The temperatures are very low. The ground temperatures are remaining low. That's keeping everything down and suppressed. And that's not good, my friends. But we will weather the weather until we need not weather the weather anymore. If you get my drift. Anyway, look, I'll catch you soon. Thanks for listening. As always, my friends. Catch you soon. Ta-ra. See ya. Bye.